Hi, Sam here. Just wanted to get some thoughts down real quickly before I start my day here in terms of work. I was thinking about Midwestuary and the idea, I guess, of how do the sort of presentations and the abstract ideas, if you will, the intellectual part of TLC, how does that relate to the community? And I guess if I go a little bit off the deep into an abstraction. Just bear with me. But I guess at the conference, one of the things that I found interesting was the people I wanted to talk to the most, and I actually was the most curious about, were not necessarily the people that show up online. I well, it's not that there's anything wrong with me to those people, and I was felt really blessed and really happy to see a number of people and press the flesh with them that I hadn't before. But at the same time, there's a way in which if you're, I don't know, constantly recording or you're constantly writing, you have your thoughts all together and you're making things more systematized, which has its benefits, but also you kind of, well, I won't point fingers, but maybe we saw at least one of the presenters this weekend um, as who could be an example of what someone is like when they're just going down the bullet point list of what they have to speak about. And I mean, I realize everyone does that. I mean, I do that when I talk to my clients. I mean, I'm just kind of in presenter mode, and I don't think there's anything bad about that. But at the same time, it's sometimes more interesting to hear people who aren't presenters and maybe who aren't knee deep in whatever this little corner is. And I was thinking in particular about one guy um, who was in my estuary breakout group who had sober houses in the um, suburb uh, in the suburban Chicago area. And one of the things he said, and actually another person echoed a similar thought, was that basically, I mean, these ideas, there's nothing wrong with them, but at the same time, if there's people I'm dealing with who really need to get their life back on track or who have kind of fallen into the dark woods, if you will, they're not they're not thinking on that level. They're thinking on a very basic, very plain level of X, Y, and Z. This is what I have to do today, and these are the things that I need to change in my life, or um, how do I fix this problem, kind of thing. And I thought about that, and yeah, I had this vision in my head. I don't know if it's a Pajot thing. I feel like it would be his thing, and I feel like I've heard it before, but I honestly can't remember who um, should get the credit for this idea, but I'm pretty sure I have heard it before, which is the idea of the hard and soft things. So, I mean, if you picture a home, you have the walls around it, which are some kind of tough material, a brick or wood, maybe cement, depending on where the house is or the type of structure. And they're made to um, weather and to not be affected by the elements. But at the same time, if you ask what is the point of a house, I mean, the point of a house is to have a place to live, right? It's a place where you can go and you can sleep at night, where you can put the art of your children or pictures of your family on the walls. And but of course, if you put those on the outside, they would be destroyed. And I was thinking about it, and I mean, I don't know how it works all the time, but in some ways, I think of my, gosh, sounds so pretentious, but my theology, and it's very simple in a way, right? I mean, I don't think I can do a better articulation of the faith than what a friend we have in Jesus, or blessed assurance. I mean, I think those are those songs that I think of them, and they're probably about as good of a way of explaining God and Christ and the church and my relationship to it as I'll ever hear. But at the same time, I hear something that's more abstract, or I think in more kind of meta terms, if you will, about community. And I it does help me to feel integrated and whole. And I guess too, I know that, I mean, there's a lot of, well, I don't know, people. I'll speak for myself. I know that it helps bring me to God when I um, can read a passage in Genesis, or I can read something from the epistles, and then I can also have someone reframe it and refocus it and think of it in different ways. And I know that there's a lot of people who they come to God and they feel like they sometimes are let down by the way that people in communities and churches, I know Vervaeke famously talks about this, the way they deal with hard questions. And I guess I think of it, and I guess in my mind, the sort of the abstractions, if you will, the kinds of things that PVK is talking about, like the way he integrated the story of Job and how that is in a conversation with wisdom literature, for example, on the video he put out yesterday. And I don't know how this all works and comes together, but I do know when I hear a video like that, it does make me feel closer to God, and hopefully it inspires me to ultimately live my purpose in a better way too. And yeah, I guess that's maybe about all I have to say for now. I'm I'm still obviously working these things out, but I do want to say before I sign off here, thank you to everyone who organized the event this weekend. I could tell there were so many people who are just kind of running at 80 miles an hour the entire time and juggling all kinds of balls in the air. And I definitely see that effort. I appreciate it. And yeah, no, thank you for, I don't know, I'll use the cliche of a big church in the Chicago area. Thank you for creating a safe place for dangerous ideas. Um, all right. Stay curious, Questarians. Bye.